So we are in the fourth session of Indian temple architecture or Bharatiya Prasada Lakshanam, and today we will be we have to look back at what we have studied. In the first lecture we saw the Vedic uh, Vedic concept of a temple, whether it existed or not, moved into Sangam literature, came to the Dharma Sutras, and then we went into the Amravati school and some pan-Indian Buddhist architecture that was there. Session 2, we were introduced to cave architecture of Mahendra Varman. Session 3, we were introduced to a lot of temple architecture details from the cave temples of Mahabalipuram. And there we did learn a lot about the pillar structures, the Lakshana of the pillars and Adhisthana Lakshanam and all of that. We will continue with rock cut architecture only in fourth lecture also. But here we will look at the Rathas. As we saw in the second lecture, if you remember, when we tried to explain the um, transition between the brick architecture and constructed temple architecture, we saw that rock cut architecture was the bridge. So that rock cut bridge, we divided it further into two, wherein we said one was the rock cut caves and the second one was rock cut temples or rathas as we call it. So the rathas is what we will be seeing today. As we already saw, the Pallava dynasty is what we are taking today also. I mean, the whole of the session is devoted to them. So the Pallava dynasty, its history and architecture, phase 1 session. This is, yeah, okay. 650 to 800, this will be session. No, there's a mistake. I'm not, yeah, okay. So we saw the type of monuments. We saw that in Mahabalipuram, we saw that there are rock cut caves that we've already seen. There are rock cut rathas. So the major rathas being the Ganesha Ratha and Panchapandava Ratha. And there are other open air bas reliefs like the Gangavatarana panel, which depict some story. And then we have full on constructed temples which are like Mukunda Nayanar Ratham, Kshatriya Simha Pallaveshwaram and Raja Simha Pallaveshwaram, where Kshatriya Simha Pallaveshwaram, yeah. So Kshatriya Simha Pallaveshwaram and Raja Simha Pallaveshwaram are the names of the two temples that we see as shore temples. So now what we will be doing is we will be looking at Ganesha Ratha and Panchapandava Ratha today, and we will be looking at the open air bas relief also today, and we will be going to constructed temples later, where we will see Mukunda Nayanar as the introduction. Then we will go into the shore temple, and then we will come to Kailashanatha in the next class. So that is how the lecture will progress. Now today's lecture will be on the Ratha architecture majorly, and then we will move into Gangavatarana panel, and I will introduce Agamas today, but the introduction will be very basic, and we will be looking at some more aspects from Agamas with respect to architecture tomorrow as well. So I mean the next session as well. So with this introduction, I will be moving into the lecture. Sorry, there is some issue. I'm not able to move. Yeah. So these two rathas are also rathas from Mamallapuram, but we will not be covering them separately. So I will just I'll just brief you. I mean, why I wanted to take this picture is because to understand how they conceived it and how they started building it, it is very evident here to see that the bottom part of it is left incomplete, but top portion is very well crafted. So it gives us an idea as to how they proceeded with this kind of temple building, where they start from the top and then they reach the bottom. So that is very clear because they've attempted and it has stopped in the middle way. So the inspiration for all of this probably would have been monolithic stupas inside the Chaitya halls. We will have a picture of that. And one more thing that we have to remember, as we have been seeing everywhere, is that these were replicas of wooden shrines that were already existing. So, for example, before there is some issue with the slides, I'm sorry. I'm not able to move the slides after going into the slideshow. Okay, now I'm able to do it. Okay, sorry. So, once when we saw the Vedic period and then the transition and all of that, even in Tamil Nadu, for example, when we take Tamil Nadu as the case, we see that the kings of the Sangam period were mostly known for their conduct of yajnas and yagas and sacrifices. For example, to say one Pandya king was known as Palyagasalai Mudugudumi Peruvazhi, the Peruvazhi or the great king who did many yagas or who held many yajnashalas. So that was the name that was given to him, Palyagasalai Mudugudumi Peruvazhi. Another Chola king was called Rajasuyam Vetta Perunarkilli. So Perunarkilli is his name, but what was his title was that Rajasuyam Vetta, a king who did the yajna of Rajasuya. Now, this is how it was in the earlier age. So, a king, to show all his regal splendor, would probably do a huge yajna, huge fire sacrifice, animal sacrifice, and he will give out many danas to many brahmanas and all of that. And that stated his power and his superiority in the society. But with the advent of the agamas, what happened was that this kind of activity of doing yajna changed. So, for example, if I tell you Rajaraja Sola, everybody will tell me Brihadishwarar Kovil Katina Rajaraja Solan. Or if we are going to talk about Rajendra, we will be probably saying the king who built Gangaikonda Cholapuram. If you're talking about Rajaraja II, we will say the person who built Dharaswaram. If we are talking about Maran Sadayan, the Pandyan who built Vetuvan Kovil. So the adjective that was like Palyagasalai Mudugudumi, the person who had many yajnas, or Rajasuyam Vetta Varunarpilli, the king who did many yajnas, all of this is now changing into becoming the king who built this temple, the king who built that temple. So therefore, as we already saw, this transition of yajnas to temples as physical worship spaces also occurred in the kings, and therefore this was considered an achievement, and this was possible through the agamas, with the advent of the agamas. So purely Vedic religion does not have a temple. With the advent of agamas, you start having temples. So agamas have a very, very important role to play when we talk about temple worship. So therefore, we will be looking at some of the agamas. And as we already saw, I don't know if you remember the story of Tirupati temple, like the Sthala Purana, as it goes, how a person became very poor. This is a story from Krishna Yajurveda, which says there is a Yajaman who is doing a yajna. He becomes very poor. Some wild boar is coming and helping him. Then he attains all his wealth. After that, everybody in his family and everybody around him are doing Chaula Karma or cutting their hair and finishing the yajna with a Avabrita Snana. This is the yaga ritual. Now, when you see Tirupati, the story goes that Vishnu comes in the form of a cowherd, so he has lost all his wealth. There is a Varaha Sannidhi, which is the most important Sannidhi, which is a wild boar. Then Tirupati Perumal is called as Shri Nivasa. Shri means wealth, Nivasa means reside. So he has gotten back all his wealth. And moreover, when you measure the Sanctum Sanctorum's breadth and width, it is exactly in match with Soma Yajna's Homa Kundam's breadth and width. So, and one more thing that we see is all the people are having a tonsure or cutting their hair, which was called as Chaula Karma in the Yajnas. So, what we witness is that the karma of Yajna is being transformed into a physical temple with a very conscious effort. So this therefore gives rise for us to understand the agamas, to understand this change of culture itself, and also to understand architecture. So introduction to agamas, as far as the Hindu religion goes, there are many such texts like agamas, yamalas, tantras. Many of these might contain many evidences to temple worship and how to devise a temple and all of that. But most important that we will be mostly handling with will be the Shaivagamas, which are 28 in number, and Vaishnava Agamas, which are 2 in number. So Vaikhanasa and Pancharatra are the Vaishnava Agamas, and Shaiva Agamas, there are 28 Agamas: Raurava Agama, Deepta Agama, Uttarakamika Agama, Purvakamika Agama, etc., etc., etc. There are many Shaiva Agamas. And there are other Shakta Tantras, Shaiva Tantras, there are some Yamalas. These are also texts that are there, but mostly temples, South Indian temples, are according to the Shaiva Agama or Vaishnava Agama. Vaishnava Agama to Pancharatra and Vaikhanasa. And to add to all of this, you have many Shilpa Shastra texts that help us. So here I have written some of the Shilpa Shastras. For example, you have the Kashyapa Shilpa Shastra, Narada Shilpa Shastra. So these help us a lot, and Manasara, Mayamata. So these are texts that help us. So for example, Manasara itself quotes 32 Sthapatya texts, architectural texts like Vishwakarmiyam, Vishwam, Vishwasaram, Prabodham, Vrittam, Mayamatam, Dvashtatantram, Manusaram, Nadam, Manavidhi, Manakalpam, Manasaram, Bahushrutam, Srishtam, Manabodham, Vishwabodham, Adisaram, Vishalaksham, Vastubodham, Mahadantram, Vastu Vidyapati, Parashariyakam, Kalayupam, Chaityam, Chitram, Mavaryam, Chatakara Samhita, Bhanumatam, Aindramatam, Lokaghanam, Shauram, etc. So these are so many texts are quoted in your this thing also in Manasara and Mayamata. So this culture has been inside Tamil Nadu also. So if you look at Silapadigaram, it says Mayan Vidittanna Manikal Amali Misai Nedinilai Madattu Idai Nilattu Irundu Uri. This is spoken about in the Manayaram Padutta Kadai, where they both enter a new house, Kovaran and Kannagi, where Silapatikaram says, Mayan Vidittanna Manikal Amali Misai Nedinilai Madattu. So the Madam is constructed as per the Vidhi or as per the rules told by Mayan Vidittanna Manikal. However, as per the Mayan has told. So Mayamata was probably in vogue in Tamil Nadu even during the earlier times of Silapatikaram itself. Silapatikaram in Indravilavu Ooredutha Kadai, where we already saw that there are many temples that are described. It says Ponninum Maninum Ponendana Ayinum Nunvane Kammiyer Kana Marabine Tuyar Ningu Sirapinavar Tollo Udavikku Mayan Vidittu Kodutha Marabine. இவைதாம் ஒருங்குடன் புணர்ந்த அங்கு உயர்ந்தோர் ஏத்தும் அரும்பெறன் மரபின் மண்டபம் அன்றியும். A mandapam is built. How that mandapa is built, he says, Elangopadigal says, Mayan vidittu kodutha marabinai vai, as Mayan has told. So probably Mayamata or Maya as a builder for all these of the celestials or a rule giver for architecture existed back then also. So architectural texts apart from your agamas have been in existence in Tamil Nadu for a long time. So all of these, when we see, we will be referring to constructed temples, we will be referring to Mayamata, Manasara, Kashyapa, etc. very often, and they form a very important important link. And even later it has been in continuance. For example, even in Kambaramayanam we get Perum Thirunagar Padaipan Mayan Mudal Deivathacharam. Mayan Deivatachar. He is an architect of divine architect. Who Mayan. Poovarum Ayanudum Pugundu Ponnagar Muvai Ulaginum Adaga Muchure Devarum Marulgulada Deivatachane. Tachan again architect or carpenter, but a very broad term. So architect. So this is given in Kambaramayan. So there is a continuous tradition of these Shilpa Shastras that we see in literature as well as in practice. So with this insight, I am going to introduce Agamas to you. Yeah. So what is an Agama? So a basic formula that is usually given is Agatam Shivapatrebhyaha Gatancha Girija Shrutau Matamcha Vasudevasya Agama iti Shrutau. So that is Agatam Shivapatrebhyaha. It is usually told by Shiva. Vaktra is mouth. Agatam is come from Shiva's mouth. Agatam Shivapatrebhyaha Gatancha Girija Shrutau. It is usually listened to by Girija or Devi, Parvati. Gatancha Girija Shrutau Matam cha Vasudevasya. So it is approved by Vasudeva or Vishnu. So Agatam Shivabhaktrebhyaha A Gatancha Girija Shrutau Ga Matancha Vasudevasya Ma Agama becomes Agama. So this is the general etymology of the word that is usually told. So in these agamas, for example, I'm saying when you are going to look at what a prasada is, for example, prasada or a temple can be described with so many words, says Karanagam. Prasadam bhavanam sadmam griham dhama niketanam vimanam sadanam harmyam vaso mandiram alayam nilayasthiti vikhyataha tasya paryaya vachakaha. This is told by Karanagama. So when you want to refer to a temple, you can say it with all these names: prasadam, bhavanam, sadma, griham, dhama, niketanam, vimanam, sadanam, harmyam, vasa, mandiram, alayam, nilayam. 13 names for a temple, for any temple, are given in Karanagama. So we have to understand, look at the vocabulary that they have. I'm reading the shloka again. Prasadam bhavanam sadma griham dhama niketanam vimanam sadanam harmyam vaso mandiramalayam nilayasthiti vikhyataha tasya paryaya vachakaha. This is written in Karanagama. Now, this is very, very important. Now, when we look at the philosophical aspect of a temple, they say Gopura Darshanam Kodi Punyam, Chuma Vimanata Patale Porom, all of this. Why all of this has come into picture? Even though you don't get a darshan, people go to the temple. What is all of this? Why is that importance placed on a temple more than the deity itself? You know, everything happens inside the temple. There are erotic sculptures, there are dance happening, there is music happening, there is anything you want to do, you can do. In fact, there are previous days we have evidences of the Ur Panchayat happening there. Everything, every politics happens there, everything happens there. Why? Because it is seen not only as a place for divinity to reside inside, not as just as a building, but as the divinity itself. So anything can happen inside the divinity. All of this divinity is seen as the Adhishtata or the base. So, for example, when we look at the Prasada or the Vimana at the temple alone, the shrine, Sanctum Sanctorum, as the deity itself, this is the comparison that is given as in the Agamas. So, there is one shloka, Upapitham Charanakaram Adhishtanam Janumandalam Kumbha Panjara Samsthanam Nabhischora Seemakam. So, for example, when you see here, it shows that Upapitham Charanakaram. So, the Upapitha is like the feet of Shiva. As you can see, the diagram is self-explanatory. So, even if you just read the shloka, you will understand. Adhishtanam Janumandalam. Janumandalam is knee, and that is compared to the Adhishtana. Kumbha Panjara Samsthanam Nabhischora Udaraseemakam. So the prasthara, the Padavargam, where the Kumbha Panjaras are usually placed, the wall portion, is like Nabhicha Uraseemakam. Uram is chest, just below the chest. Nabhi is the belly button. Padavargam Karavaram Prastaram Bahumulyakam. So the Padavarga's end portions of the wall are like the hands, the Abhayavarada Hastas. And Prastaram Bahumulyakam. The Prastara is like the shoulders, Bahumulyakam. Tat Kantham Galamityuktam. The Kanta or Griva is the neck of Shiva. That is why till now, if you notice, many places we just used body part names like Nasika, then Kantham, Padam, all of this. We are using many body part names to name the temple. Why? What is the philosophical explanation is given by the Agama, where it says Padavargam Karavaram Prastaram Bahumulyakam Tatkantam Galamityuktam Shikaram Mukhamevacha. The Shikara is like the Mukham of the deity. So that is why you have the Nasi and all of that. And then it says Ushni Shantam Shikha Chaiva Mahanasi Cha Nasika Netranam Kshudranasyaiva Kshudranasyaicha Vishwarupam iti Smartam. So the Ushni Shantam, the stupi that is there is like the Ushnisha or the Kudumi or the Jata Mandala of Shiva. Sorry. Mahanasi cha Nasika. The Mahanasi that is in the Shikara is like the nose of Shiva. Netranam Kshudranasya. The two Kshudranasi's that are there near the Nasika are like the Netram or the eyes of Shiva, and therefore we are conceiving the temple as Vishwarupam iti Smritam. So therefore the temple itself philosophically becomes the Vishwarupa of Bhagavan, of Shiva, of Devatas. It can be Vishnu also, the same. We are taking a shlokam from Shaivagama. It is there even in the Vaishnavagamas. I'm just drinking water, just give me a minute. All right. So this this is the Prasadas Garbhagriham alone, that one portion alone. There is another diagram which you would have seen in many places. This also, including the Vimana, the Mahamandapa, the Balipitha, the Dvajastamba, and the Gopuram, the whole temple complex as a whole, including the Prakara and Gopura, also has a significance like that, where it is imagined as the Paramapurusha or the deity itself. So there, Garbhagriham Shiraf Proktam Antaralam Gadam Tatha Mandapancha Mukam Bahuhu Kshisyat Mantapo Mahane Prakaram Janajangecha Gopuram Padamevacha Padasyangulya Proktaha Gopurasthupayastatha. So this is also told by the Agama. So here what happens is Garbhagriham Shiraf Proktam. The Garbhagriha is like the head of the deity. Yeah.
Sorry, Pratik, just go back 2-3 seconds back because your audio got crashed.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So the shloka says, Garbhagriham Shiraf Proktam Antaralam Galam Tatha Mandapancha Mukam Bahuhu Kukshisyan Mantapo Mahane Prakaram Janujanghecha Gopuram Padamevacha Padasyangulya Proktaha Gopuras Upayastata. So it says Gopuram, the Garbhagriham is like the head of the deity. Antaralam, the Antarala that is there is like the neck of the deity. That is why Antarala is also called as Gala. Galam is neck. And Mantapam, Mantapancha Mukham Bahuhu, the Mantapas are like the hands and the shoulders. Kukshishyan Mantapo Mahane. The Mahamantapa is like the stomach. Prakaram Janujangecha. Prakaram is like the knee. And Gopuram Padamevacha. The Gopuram is like the extended feet that are there. Therefore, it looks like a oblongated structure. And says Padasya Angulya Proktaha Gopura Stupayastata. If it's a feet, it has so many fingers. Therefore, the Gopuram is also having so many kalashas. It is like the feet's fingers. So this is how the temple itself is envisioned as the divinity fully. So I am introducing all of this because temple is not just Nasika, Antarala, Vimana, Kushinasika, all the Shukanasika, blah blah blah. That is important for us to understand the temple, but it is also equally important to understand the huge philosophical base with which the temple is built. That is why I want to introduce you to the yajna becoming a temple, and therefore how significant it is for the Hindu religion, for something as sacred as invincible as yajna becoming converted into a concept of a temple, and to view the temple in terms of as the divinity. Also in terms of Yoga Shastra and other, so many philosophical aspects are there, which I am not discussing now. Probably when we have time, we should go into the philosophical aspects of temple itself, which itself is a huge topic. That said, we will, with this very limited introduction to the Agama Shastras, we have not even touched the surface, but we will have to move into our topic for today, which is the Draupadi Ratha and other Panchapandava Rathas mainly. We will get into the first Ratha, which is the Draupadi Ratha. So, if you remember the Mitravinda Jataka that I showed you, the panel from Amaravati, which formed as the basic understanding for temple architecture for us, there we have a very similar structure like this, which is this. So we understood Kutakara with this hut. This is typical hut. So now we see probably a hut with, they imagined with a metal plating, because you have all this design scrolls, Patralata, that is there. So this is how they have envisioned it. So it is a very, very clear-cut example of how temples evolved from huts. It's called the Draupadi Ratha. It has no connection whatsoever with the Panchapandavas. We are just using the context. Oh God, I'm not able to switch between slides. There is some issue. Okay. Okay. Now I wanted to notice something, that till now whatever we saw, the Adhisthana just sprang up from the ground, or there was an Upana to the Adhisthana. But then here what happens is the Adhisthana, if you see, this is the Adhisthana. So there is an Upana, Jagati, Kumuda, Kampa, Kantha, Pattika, and the Vedi is here. So all the elements of the Adhisthana are here. But where is the Adhisthana situated? Here is the Adhisthana. So the Adhishthanam is here. So the Adhishthanam itself is placed on a huge raised platform. So such a platform on which an Adhishthanam is placed is called as the Upapitham. It's called as the Upapitham. So if you see here, this is an ASI drawing. So there is an Upapitham with the elephants and lions. And on top of the Upapitham, you have the Adhishthanam. And Adhishthanam has all the elements. Upana, Jagati, Kumuda, Kampa, Kantha, Pratika, Vedya. But all that elements is standing on a platform. So this is called as the Upapitham. So this is how it is, the Draupadi Ratha. So Draupadi Ratha is a classic square plan. If you see, it is a square plan. It's 11 feet by 11 feet plan. 1 minute, there is some problem. Kirtana is also not here. Aishwarya is also. Yeah. So it is a classic square plan where you have 11 feet by 11 feet. And we saw that the Adhisthana is upon the Upapitha. So if you're observing, as we already saw, just recollecting, it is clearly a timber hut that has become a temple here in stone. And it is a Kutakara, that also you will be able to understand. And on which these Kona Pattas are made. If you see here, the Valli Mandala, it is also called as Valli Mandala. Valli means creepers, and a full set of creepers are called as Valli Mandalas. And the structure itself, if you see here, we saw that a temple requires Shad Vargas to be classified as a temple. Majorly, usually. So Shad Vargas are what? The Adhishthanam, Padavargam or the wall. You have Prastaram or the portion that where the Kapota is there, which is connecting the superstructure and the lower structure. Then you have the Adhishthanam, Padavargam, Prastaram. You have the Griva, which is the neck portion. And the fifth one, you have the Shikara. And then you have the Stupi. So this, if it is there, it is called as the Shadvarga Vimana. It is called as Shadvarga Prasada or Shadvarga Vimana. Here, it is a Chaturvarga Vimana. Why is it Chaturvarga? Because Adhishthanam is there, Padavargam is there. You don't have the Prastara. There is no Prastara. You have the Shikara, but you don't have a Kantha, or a Griva is not there. A Stupi is there, but it is not today not there. So a Stupi had been planned. If you see here, the Stupi is here downstairs. So therefore, we have Adhisthana, Padavarga, Shikara, Stupi is there. So two elements are missing, which are Griva and Prastara. Yes. So it is a Chaturvarga Kutakara temple. It's a Chaturvarga Kutakara temple. Okay. Now, if you see that on all four sides, you are having Durgas in Koshtas. So the Koshtas are clearly set out. On all four cardinal directions, you have Koshtas, and then you have Toranas in each Koshta. You have Kudyastamba, and on all the Lakshanas of Kudyastamba, I am not repeating. And in the Valabhi, inside, if you see, they have put Ganamalas. Ganas are there. Could you please mute yourself? Okay. So, if you look at these elements, which we called as Valli Mandala, there are some local Tamil, what the Stapatis use. There are many different terminologies that they use. It is essential that we know them also, because these are local variants that are there. So if you see here, this is called, where when it comes in the corner of the shikara, when it comes in the corner of the shikara, what happens is that it is called as the sorry, it is called as the Kona Palai. It is called as the Kona Palai. And when it is in the center, where there is no curvature in the Vimana, when it is just in the wall, that is called as the Mayyapalai. So here what is there? It is a Valli Mandala in Sanskritam, but in Tamil, the Stapati would call it Konapalai. If it is just on the wall, it will be called as Mayyapalai. And like this creeper-like arrangement that is just there in a wall, like inside the filling inside a wall, it will be called as Kodikarku. Design means karku, so this will be called as a Kodikarku. This is a Mayyapalai, Konapalai. This is a Kodikarku. So these are local terms. There are other karku also, Vattakarku, Adaipu karku, and some other palais are also there. But this is the major, if we understand it is enough. These are Stapati terminologies that we use. So the inspiration to a full-on constructed temple in stone, excavated like this out of a big boulder, would be such an apsidal chaitya. So this is a chaitya griha, or a prayer hall in Ajanta. In the middle, you have a stupa. So what they have done, they've excavated the cave-like thing, but inside the cave they have a ratha-like structure also. Correct? So these chaitya is probably an inspiration for the cave temple. But inside the chaitya you have this stone stupa, which is probably the inspiration for such boulders to be converted into rathas. Correct? Okay. So with this, I pause the lecture. We will continue again.